Hello, Kevin. Nice to
Hello,
meet you,
you
mate.
alright?
I'm Nick. Yeah,
Hi, Nick, you alright?
I'm good, mate. Something's always intrigued me with is it under 21s or under 23s?
Under 21s. It was
Under
under
21s.
23s a couple of seasons ago, but it's now under 21s, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it always fascinates me as to the amount of do you coordinate tactics? I mean, when your team takes the field, are you trying to imitate the style and the way that the first team are playing, or is it? Do you have some kind of discretion over how you take the field versus the first team? If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
there's been periods in the time that I've been here where it's been led by a little bit, right, we wanted to play a back three,
Right.
but we've kind of gone away from that a little bit now because obviously managerial changes and it's club appointments as well. So we've gone away from that a little bit. So what we're trying to do now is really just develop good players.
Right.
But we like to change our own system as well. So we give them some challenges in terms of okay, sometimes it is on the personnel we're going to pick. If we have players that are coming down from the first team, and then maybe we've got three players from the first team, and then said, you know what, I want you to play in a four in this one. That absolutely no problem at all.
Right.
But we do challenge the players by we will change to a back three, and we might do it within a game. So again, we want to get the results, and winning is vitally important, but challenging the players, making them adaptable. So if different managers want to come in and change their tactics, our lads have had an experience of doing that.
So would you say, I'm going by what you're saying there, that the flexibility of the player is the all important thing, the ability to go from one system perhaps into a different system in the first team and then be able to adjust in that style,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they've had a little bit of a challenge. Say an example, it doesn't really go into the system, but what we'll be looking to do this season now will be changing our marking on set pieces. So players will get a chance of zonal marking. They'll get a chance of man marking. So there'll be just different challenges, and they're kind of getting a sort of a wholesome picture of what it could look like in the first team.
I understand. We do these two questions at a time, Kevin. So I'm going to pass you over to Joe.
Right.
Now.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
Hi, Kevin. I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe. You right?
Yeah, good. Nice to meet you. We've seen a few youngsters make the leap to first team football, such as Romain Esse and Reece Mangura-Williams.
Yeah.
Apart from the obvious technical abilities that they have, what other qualities separate those that make it to those that don't, in your opinion?
I would say consistency level, hard work. It sounds like an obvious one, but hard work, dedication, all those things as well. And they've got to understand the game a little bit as well, which comes with experience and with the current manager. His tactical awareness is really good. He needs his players to be tactically aware and he can adapt that. So we try to get that into them as well, making sure they can sort of understand what is getting asked of him in games. But the hard work, the consistency level, the dedication. I mean, Rays would be in at, he'd be in at 8:00 in the morning, he'd be doing gym work, and it just gives him that extra little foundation as well. But consistency, I would say, is huge.
You look at like the old player like Esse or SA that went to Palace, and of course I think it was under Harris's era. He didn't quite make it, and a few clubs kind of moved him on, didn't they, to various clubs, and he kind of took a while before he found his home. So I guess I know you can't really speak on behalf of Neil Harris at the time, but what would you say were the reasons there? Was it just an adjustment, or the culture wasn't right to the way we played our football? And
yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, like I say, it was pre my time here, but football has evolved a lot. I mean, there's the basics that you stand by. You know what I mean? You work hard. There's so many of the basics that you have to do. You still have to do, but it has evolved. And one thing that we've looked at amongst ourselves, well, since I've been, is that teams used to be 4-4-2, and everyone, the same thing week in, week out. Now there's adjustments in tactics. There's adjustments in styles. People wanted the same type of player all the time. Now you'll have players. What we believe that, do you know what? They might not suit us at this club, but they may go on so you could sell them or get something from them. Another manager might like them, or you've seen it. We've seen it all before when one manager leaves the club and then the players been out of it totally, and then a new manager comes in and he's just a regular starter. So it just managers want different things. At the time, I couldn't give you an answer with Eze on that one, but I would imagine it was about around those sort of lines in terms of our tactical work. I would have thought.
That makes sense. Cheers, Kevin. Mickey?
Obviously, to a fan's point of view, we see these young players come in. Alex Mitchell will probably be a prime example, where we think that he's definitely got something about him. How hard is it sometimes to try and make sure that the fans understand, or how hard is it for you when a player feels that the fans love him and he feels that he's there, but actually there's so much more to it than just his ability on the pitch? For instance, like, with the one what Joe was saying, that could have been something to do with attitude or style or anything else, what accumulated to him unfortunately not getting a contract. So how difficult it is in your role to develop players, but you're having to develop everything about them, not just what's on the pitch?
Yeah, well, to be honest, we've been very fortunate. The lads that we recruit, that honestly, I would say they're fantastic lads. Pretty much every single one of them I've worked with have been, hardworking, really diligent in doing their job as well. So we try to give them, again, the whole picture. And again, it's kind of a player first approach we have, well, player and people first. So we have to make sure that they're all okay. When they're in our workplace, they're really enjoying that side of it as well. So there's a real thing we've got to look after, and we've got to make sure we take care of these players. Now, get them into the first team. All we can do as the 21s or coming through that system is train them to be training really hard, to be good professionals, to improve on things that they may need improving into. Could be technical work, could be a bit of heading, could be whatever it is, and just keep on giving them individual programs. And then it kind of goes on. They get opportunities sometimes to go and train with the first team. They've got to then take that opportunity. The manager might think, you know what, I really like him. Or, you know what, he's not quite ready to be with us yet, and he'll step back down again. And then you've got to manage these situations as well. So they have to give them a sort of a mental awareness that it's tough. Football is a brutal industry. So when you do get that opportunity, you need to take it. The way that Ray's did when he came in and he took that opportunity. The likes of Alex, fantastic lad. But like I said, once they get to that level, then it becomes the manager's decision whether they get into the first team, whether they'll get a regular start. And then over that with a club decision on whether they stay with the club or they don't. So obviously we end up selling Al to Charlton, and he's gone on. Again, it gives us a lot of joy as well. I'll get as much satisfaction with players getting into our first team as the other lads when they go off and they get a career in football. I really like, you look through the teams now in all of the leagues, and you'll see lads that have come through in these last 6-7 years. You see them there, even like George Walker, a fantastic lad. He's gone, I think he signed for Kidderminster recently. You got, Abdul's playing at Bournemouth, just got promoted to the National League as well. So there's all of these players. It gives us huge satisfaction that we are giving them a start and they can get a career in football at whatever level that is. And hopefully, the way that Eze did, that they'll maybe, if they get released, then they drop down a little bit and then they find their feet. And sometimes the maturation is a little bit different these days now. And it takes them a little bit of time. Maybe they've got to find a bit of love with a football club or a manager. But it does take, the days are gone when someone says, if he's 18, he ain't ready, then he ain't never going to be ready. Them days are gone now. Society's totally changed. So you've got to give them that little bit of chance. You've got to make sure you look after them, and hopefully at some stage they will get into that team and they'll be ready to go and play.
How much easier is it for you now to, obviously, with the way the club has changed with the first team, and it's a word what I don't think Max will probably tell me off again for, is asset. But how easy is it for you to actually say to a youngster when you're meeting them and their family to say you can actually get in? Now the fact that we've sold, obviously, SA to Palace, and obviously Fleming has moved on, where now you're looking at these young players with a realistic chance that in a few years, if they actually take the opportunity in front of them, they could be in the first team. Because Alex Neil's come out on interviews and stuff and said, look, if I think they're ready, I'll bring them in to train with the first team. And that must give a 17, 18-year-old lad huge amounts of pride to suddenly go from a youth setup into training with the first team.
Yeah, and it's fantastic now that we are pushing towards that as well. We've had the lads, obviously you look at like Danny Mack, Billy Mitchell, they've come in and their pathway has been totally different. Danny went out, I think he had 4 loans before he got that opportunity to come in. And again, he took his chance. Billy, he took his chance at, I think it was Hull away, right wing back. You know what I mean? So they've got to make sure they're ready for it. But it is really nice that we are pushing for that at the moment, to make sure. But again, we're still training them the same. We're not training them any differently. We're not teaching them anything differently, but they've got to be ready when they step up for a training session or whatever it is. They have to be ready, and that it's not always clean when you get into the first team. It could be, do you know what? Yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect scenario, and you say, do you know, we'll have him on the bench and we'll give him 10 minutes here and we'll give him 15. See how he gets on. Quite often that isn't the case. Quite often you got players that have got injured and there's a spot, and then you get thrown in, and then you've got to take. So you always have to be ready, whether that be every single morning in training, you're in on time and you're ready. So if you get called up by the manager, you're gonna show your best version of yourself. That's what we push the whole time. And again, it is that pathway into ideally to be a Millwall player, but a pathway to have a career in football as well is something that we really, really push for as well. But it's good now with obviously with the manager and Steve, etc., trying and the chairman really trying to push for a young group.
No, that's it. No, thanks. Nick would probably tell you about the history of our past with youth and the way that our own grown has won us some great things in the past.
Yeah. I bet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mick. I mean, obviously the club's got a reputation for producing talent. You know that, Kevin. It was interesting. You made a good point earlier on how brutal, ruthless football is as a place of work in many ways. And we just had the retained list, so obviously that implies that some players are let go. That's got to be one of the tougher parts of your job, I would imagine.
It's horrible.
Release the players.
It's horrible. It's a day that we all dread. You know, I can't tell you how much it is. And you go in there and you've got lads, honestly, that you've worked with for a year, maybe 2 years, and they've been with the club maybe from 8-9 years old, and like the likes of Scott Fitz has known them from that age. So it's difficult for everyone along the way. And then maybe they've got some of them will be released at the end of their scholarship.
Right.
You've got the schoolboy bit, you've got the scholarship bit. With our one, you know, they've been pros, and you think, you know what, now they've got a chance, and it just for whatever reason it hasn't happened. But no, it's a horrible time. But we give them the care afterwards as well. We give them the care. We look after them. I'm still in contact with a lot of the lads that are no longer with us. Always there for Andy. We've got a player care system, so we really do look after them as well. But it doesn't make it any easier. Certainly, I'm talking about it's not easy for us, but for them, it's a lot worse as well. So, but like I say, we're really pleased in recent years that we do. I look through them teams of other clubs now, and there's plenty of our lads that are in there having a career.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You see names that you've recognised in other teams, and it's interesting when you see them going to places and make it. I mean, I was there when we won the under-21 championship a couple of years ago at the Den.
Oh right, okay, yeah, it was
great
good,
night. It was a great night, and it's fascinating, if that's the right word, probably not the right word, but how few players from that team actually do press on. It's to keep saying the same point. It's a very tough business, Kev, isn't it? I mean, it is. You know, a Coley lifting the trophy. I remember it very well. I thought there's a player that will press on with us, but of course it don't always work the way you think it does it? It goes on to other clubs.
Yeah, exactly. And we're proud that they can go on to other clubs. And I say, ideally, these lads would have come through, but there are levels. You know, you've got your Premiership, your Championship, etc., etc. You do have levels, and hopefully, if these lads do go elsewhere, then they'll start climbing those ladders again. And whether that be getting moved on to another club or playing with a club that gets promoted and it gets them into a championship. Yeah. So we're really proud that we are doing that. But it's a tough industry. It's the best job in the world, by the way, being a footballer. and me coaching the 21s group, like absolutely love it. I love the development side of it. I love the interaction with it, with the lads. Yeah. We've got really good staff around me. Obviously, Scott Fitz, we've got Robbo, we've got other ones as well. We've got sports scientists with us. We've got a nice little team. It's a really tight-knit team, and it's a fantastic job. But not everyone is going to reach that level.
No. There's only 11 players, isn't there?
Exactly. Team. Honestly, and again, sometimes one manager might really fancy a player, and then the next one doesn't. So it's just how it works, and that's the way it is. It is all about opinion. So,
is it a collective decision? Just before I pass you on to Joe, is it a collective decision to release a player, or would that be, in that case, your call on, or would it be?
Yeah, it's generally collective.
Right.
It's generally collective between the academy staff. We try and have an alignment through the football club and with the academy as well. So, maybe if the manager's come in and he's not been in long, he might not have too much to say in it, or they've gone and trained with them, and then maybe they're a little bit older and say, you know what, I like him, but we've already got players in that position, so we won't take him. So in certain aspects, there'll be another opinions, but
factors at play. Yeah,
it's generally it's collective decisions. Yes,
I understand. Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to give it to Joe now. Joe,
that's all right, no problem.
Nice one. Cheers, Nick. Kevin, for those fans that don't often watch the under 21s, what would you say?
Come down and watch.
No, exactly. Well, I do quite often, but I know a lot don't.
Yeah.
But what would you say is about the standard of the players coming through, the kind of future pipeline of talent, if you like, and what would you say are the names we should be looking out for the fans that don't get to watch under 21s often?
Yeah, it's difficult to give out names because things change all the time. We've got some good lads coming through now, you know.
Can you describe them? There's a few standouts and a bit about them and their abilities and stuff, maybe?
Yeah, okay. We've got to say, as an example, we've got a lad, Jack Howland, who's got loads of ability.
Really good player.
You know, really, really talented. Again, but there's so many facets of being a footballer, and we spoke to him, so he needs to work on certain things. He's got programs in the summer, etc. And again, we have an individual program for each player. So each player will have they call it an IDP. So we have that every day. So they do like maybe 10 minutes after training. We'll go through team meetings, but then a lot of our like first team would be, I would imagine, be pretty generic sort of team meetings and tactics and what they could do. Our ones, we do the same, but that's slightly shortened. We don't go into the tactical sides as much as maybe what the first team do. But what we do is a lot of individual work. So as you see, as I'm sure you've seen over, it's a society thing really where people probably younger lads now probably don't solve problems so much, and they don't really have. They find it a little bit harder to sort of sort things out themselves. So now what we're trying to do is make them accountable. So if we're showing them the meetings, we don't say, right, you should be doing that, you shouldn't be doing that. What we'll say, what do you think on that situation? So they've got to articulate what they think they should have done and where they may have made a mistake. And sometimes that's slightly subjective.
Do you do that by watching back sort of videos or sort of games?
Absolutely, yeah. We have Kieran videos all our games and they clip it, individual clips, but me and Robbo will go through it.
That's good.
And quite often Robbo will do a centre half. He'll be looking after a centre half and making sure their body position's right. But we don't just say to them, right, you should be doing that. Like old school.
Yeah. Tell them.
Like, I know it was brutal. Like,
yeah.
You know
so
what I mean?
Jack Howland, for example, what type of player is he? Because I've seen him sort of play through the middle. I've sort of seen him play on the wings. Is he a both-footed player as well? I think
he's left-footed. He's left-footed. He can play across any. Yeah,
unlike many lefties, he can use his right as well, can't he?
Yeah, he can use that as well. Yeah, so he's left-footed. He's got a nice balance, and he can play anywhere across that sort of front line, really.
Okay, yeah. What we often find is like for example, Reece, for example, when he was playing for the under-21s, under-23s, like he was playing this kind of central midfield role, and you kind of feel like that's where he kind of wants to play, or that's how he's learned his his craft, if you like. But then, of course, when you get into the first team, you kind of have to sort of play when the manager plays you a little bit. And we've got this
absolutely.
Thing where it's a bit like square pegs and round holes?
Yeah,
bit, you know, and players are kind of being asked to play a little bit out of positions. But of course, when you're a youngster, you're not going to turn it down, are you? You're going to play wherever the manager wants you to play. But does that kind of hinder their development a little bit? Because, you know, personally, I would love to sort of play Reece in the number 10 or in a centre midfield position. But understandably, there's players queuing up ahead of him who might, you know, on merit, whether it be experience, would be slightly ahead of him at the moment. And does that kind of hinder their development slightly, would you say?
No, I don't think. I think once they're in the team, you know, they've just got to, be honest, they've just got to get on with it. If they get in a position, and I spoke about early on, Billy Mitchell made his debut, I think, at right wing back. You know, now he's the top championship centre midfielder. And that would have been always his preferred position. So Ray's now, and it'll be up to where the manager sees him, because Ray's has got an ability to play across that front line anywhere, and he can play central midfield.
Yeah.
He hasn't, I don't think he's done that yet for the first team, but maybe, well, I don't know. That'll be down to the manager. The manager might see him, do you know what, I really like him out there.
Yeah.
And he can equally he can do any of those positions. So I certainly don't think if you're in a it's a good championship side we have. Millwall's got some good players in there as well, and the manager's doing a fantastic job with them. So if Ray's is getting in the championship side, whatever position, he's he's doing okay. If he's getting in front of other players, he's doing all right.
And I'm guessing, like you're saying, with Billy Mitchell's a prime example. Whereas you come in at a certain position, slightly out of position. Once you kind of earn your stripes, so to speak, you then find that way into the position you want to play. So, for example, you say with Race, he's played on the left, he's played on the right, he's played a little bit in the 10, but maybe give it another season or so, he might get to play in that more central position where perhaps he might feel most comfortable playing.
Yeah, he might, like I say, he might well do, and hopefully he'll flourish in any of those positions. And again, we spoke about earlier on what will push the manager to play someone, and it will be their attitude, it will be how they carry themselves. And Ray's is a perfect example. Danny Mack is a perfect example of that. Billy Mitchell is an absolute perfect example of all of those things. So you feel like you could put any of those players in a different position and they'd be fine. There'd be no question in it. They just go and get on with it, and I think that's what we try to establish with these lads and get it into them. Just make sure you're ready all the time and make sure your attitude is spot on and everything about how you carry yourself around the club. Again, there's a lot of that type of work goes into it. It goes into it as well.
That's brilliant. Yeah, cheers, Kevin. Nice one.
That's all right.
Question for you is obviously with fans, we see players like Reece and others come on and they get into the first team and they're going. And according to us lot, we're like, well, they should be playing every game now. They've really doing change. But you've obviously, a lot of the fans take to social media and moan and everything else. But actually, with a player like Reece, you can't put him in too fast because then potentially they're going to have a burnout. And it's going to affect their overall performance with a lot of players. So we, as a fan base, should bear with them, because if they're not playing every game, it's not because they're not good enough to play every game or the manager doesn't like them. It's more about their development plan that you just don't want it to affect them a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, I think obviously raises a bit of a situation because he got injured anyway. So a lot of the time he hasn't played, he's been out injured. But once they go into that first team bracket, they kind of come out of my remit anyway, out of the academy remit anyway. So it's down to the manager. But we'll have good discussions with the manager. But if they're going to be playing there or not playing, the manager will have a reason why they're not playing there. If it's a lad that we think, he's a bit risky about getting injured, etc. But the manager's going to try and pick his best team. That's the bottom line of it. And if that lad should be in it, he'll be in it. But if someone's not playing, if someone's on the bench or out of the squad, there's a valid reason for that. There's not as simple as that. The manager has a reason why someone's not playing. And
I get it. Just
only pick 11 players, and that's how it is. And whether half of the Millwall fans think he should be playing and half don't think, the manager is the one that makes that decision. And the managers we've had at the club have all been very good. And that's what their job is.
It's like what you said before, and football's about opinions. My final question is obviously there's a lot of talk nowadays with players aren't necessarily like before. If you were a winger, you'd always be a winger. If you're a defender, you're always defender. It seems now as if it's more about if they can play football, they can be coached into different positions now. Do you find that's fairly true? Because there's a lot of defenders what are moving into keeping, rather going into goalkeeping, larger guys and good with their feet. That's all changed. Do you find that that's easier now to suddenly come across a winger who's actually maybe better at a forward or better in a central position rather than their chosen position?
I do. Honestly, I do. I think you can get so just as an example, you say you've got a left winger. And it's quite easy now, and I think the players are much more acceptable to it as well. You could drop him into a left-back role. You could drop him into maybe left side of a back three, and the players will accept that. And we be doing that to give them a bit of variety in their play, to make them a little bit adaptable in how they play as well. So I think that's a major bonus in, like, say, modern football. It is different. Before it was like pretty much 4-4-2 straight lines, where now it is different, and people do rotate and. You've seen it over the years with different clubs doing it, and managers now want different things, and certain football clubs will have a style that they are going to stick with, and they want a certain type of player. So I think it's a really good thing that our lads get the opportunity to play in different positions, and they're very accepting of that as well. But don't get me wrong, there'll be players you think, you know what, you are a centre half, and that's where we think you're going to have your best opportunity of playing. So you'll play there. But the other ones will say, okay, listen, in this game, we'll have a little challenge. If it doesn't work, that's what the 21s is here for. Sometimes, if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world if we don't pick up the 3 points. We always want to do it, but it's not always going to be the case. So we will try things out with players.
No, that's good. Thanks very much.
No
Nick?
problem, that's all right.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I mean, you kind of just answered the question I was going to ask about the difference between under 21 management and the senior squad, winning and losing. Is it are you judged on your winning record, or are you judged on the players you're producing? I'd imagine it's the second one, really.
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah. It's good to have both.
Yeah.
If I could give you an analogy of the difference between first team football and just one little bit. So, say for instance, we've got a centre half who isn't a great marker on set pieces.
Yeah.
If it's with the first team and it's been established, you know what, he's not a great marker on set pieces. Do you know what? You won't have him marking. You'll have him in a space. You'll have him somewhere else, and you'll keep him out of the way. Whether it be a centre forward or whoever it is, with us, we'll say, right, now we develop you. You need to become a better marker. So whether that costs us the game, if he becomes a better marker, and he goes into the first team and he's heading things out from set pieces because we've trained him up to do that and we've lost some games, that's a huge success for us. Because that would say is a low level analogy of the difference between the winning and the mentality. That we would, like I say, if for development, we're willing to lose games.
I understand. I'm just looking at your playing career back in the 80s, I believe. You must have played under some hard.
Keep it quiet.
I mean, management style is where I'm going with this, and you've mentioned a lot that the game has changed, and I think we'll get that. Anyone of a certain age sees it, I mean, when it comes to players, I mean, you must have had dressing rooms where the manager is, I don't know whether the hairdryer treatment or the throwing the teacups around, whatever you want to call it, but do managers still do that? Is that something that is a real thing now, or are you more arm around the shoulder as a kind of profession? I'm driving that, not you personally.
Yeah, but I think it was, say, I don't think there was as much shouting and all that what everyone goes on about years ago. I really don't.
That's interesting.
Okay. I don't think I can't. I'm pretty much sure I got shouted at a few times, and I'm not sure if it really helped me that much. When I went out on the second half, whether it made me that much better.
Right.
I don't think it really did. So now it's certainly, you can maybe raise your voice a little bit or show something in it, but it's more of, again, a bit of an education, and you're at half time or after the game or whatever it is, you're making sure that the player is learning and they're developing, and you're giving them some knowledge of stuff, really.
I understand. Yeah.
Basically, if you're shouting and screaming, sometimes it's hard not to sometimes. But you know what I mean, let's be honest, it is hard not to sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's probably just, if I were to do it, it's probably just for myself.
Yeah.
It's just releasing stuff, and I don't think anyone's really getting anything out of that if you come in. Do you know what I mean? So, but I don't think it was as bad as it certainly wasn't as bad as what people make out years ago.
That's really interesting.
There was some good managers and some very, very good coaches around years ago as well. Yeah.
There's no podcast career in that part, that kind of thing, Kevin. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it.
That's all right.
Kate, last couple of questions from myself. Just interesting to find out your thoughts on the best young talent that you've ever coached, and why pick that person out.
Talented wise, you've got obviously Romain, who's just gone to Palace. He's got to be in there as well. But I suppose when you talk about talent, it can come in different ways, can't it? It can come in different forms. It can come in athleticism. It can come in technical. It can come in now. Remain technically fantastic. But it's going to be really hard for me to sort of say on this one, But the lads, like I say the two lads that are inside, Danny Mack and Billy Mitchell, those lads are just modelled, they've been model pros. And to work with, if you're a first-team manager, you want to work with those type of lads. Trustworthy, reliable, and you know what? Very, very good players. So I'll probably go with those lads that I'm speaking with at the moment. Yeah.
Nice one. And just to end it off, just finally, if a young lad from South London, dreams of playing for Millwall one day, what's the one bit of advice that you would give him?
Give it everything. Whatever you do, don't come off the train. Sorry, don't come off the training pitch, or don't come off after match thinking, oh, I wish I could have done a little bit more there. So every day you're out training or whatever it is, make sure you give it every single thing you've got. That's what I would say is the biggest bit of advice.